I did not open any UFC, MMA, or boxing channel or even any media source for 2 days because I was preparing for one of the most difficult papers in my this examination. And when I came back from the examination hall and checked all the details, I was shocked. The UFC signed a huge deal with Paramount, and here are the details. First, it is a US media rights agreement with Paramount beginning in 2026. All UFC numbered events and fight nights will stream live on Paramount Plus with selected marquee fights simulcast on CBS like UFC White House card. The PPV system is over and there will no longer be any pay-per-views in the UFC. Anyway, in the UFC's new US broadcast deal will feature 43 UFC events annually, 13 number cards and 30 fight night cards. UFC 324 will be the first number event of the UFC's new broadcast deal in January 2026. Dana White also gave an interview to CBS Sports where he says that the UFC plan to do 4 big events per year throughout their new broadcast deal. He says the planned White House event will of course be one of those. White also claims the new deal improves the chances of superstars like Conor McGregor and Jon Jones returning. Dana White also adds that pay-per-view are maybe not dead and they could still do one-off pay-per-views with their stars. Then SBJ asked Dana White if Contender Series could end up somewhere other than Paramount, and Dana replied, "Yes, that could be split up. We will see how that plays out." White also confirms that Dana White's Contender Series, Road to UFC, Ultimate Fighter, and Power Slap are not included in this CBS deal. They are actively looking for a home for these 4 entities. Dana also told SBJ that Zuffa boxing deal is done, it just has not been announced yet. Anyway, other than this good news for fight fans, there is another good news that UFC Chief Business Officer Hunter Campbell plans to extend the UFC Apex to accommodate an additional 5 to 10,000 fans. Selected WWE PLEs, NXT specials, or cross-promotional events could potentially be held in this area. This would be perfect if they do expand the Apex. We just want to see the fighters get the opportunity to fight in front of a crowd, a proper atmosphere. Anyway, now let's move towards UFC card, including the new fight announcements. Let's start from Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Dolidze card that just took place last Saturday. Following his spectacular UFC Vegas 109 victory, Hernandez moves up 3 spots to number 7 in the latest official middleweight rankings, while Lucindo, who beats Angela Hill, moves up 1 spot to number 7 in the latest official strawweight rankings. Then now if we talk about this weekend's Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev UFC 319 card, there is one big update from that card, and that is Khamzat Chimaev's new custom shorts that you can see on your screen. I think he has won the custom short battle. Anyway, if we move on towards the next card, which is UFC Shanghai August 23rd, Zhang vs Walker, there is Road to UFC semi-final card just 1 day before this event, where there are UFC fights as well on the card. One of those UFC fights were Ray Suruya versus Niam Jirgal something, but now Suruya is out of this fight and replacing him is a debutant Terence Saitern. Now, with all the nonsense of UFC fighters on the Road to UFC card, I don't know if he is signed with the UFC or just signed to an RTU contract. Anyway, if we talk about the next card, which is UFC Paris 4, there was a women flyweight bout where 6-0 Kennedy Freeman was supposed to make her debut against Genesee Dubin, but Dubin had pulled out due to an injury. Then now Kennedy Freeman also announced that she will not be making her debut at UFC Paris as she is also injured, and this fight is now scrapped from this card. A women bantamweight bout is also scrapped from the next card, which is Noshul UFC 3, where Carl Pennington was supposed to return against Norma Dumont on this event but had to pull out. Now Norma Dumont got another opponent but on a new date. Yes, now number 4 ranked women bantamweight Norma Dumont, who is riding a 5-fight win streak, will be taking on number 3 ranked Kathleen Vieira, who just came back into the win column by beating Macy Shizan after losing to Kayla Harrison. Moreover, from men's bantamweight bout, Carlos Vera pulled out from his fight against David Martinez, and the UFC is currently looking for a replacement opponent. Then from next card, UFC Perth, September 27th, Duhu Chui pulled out of his featherweight bout against Daniel Santos, and UFC is looking for a replacement opponent for Daniel Santos as well. Then from next card, UFC 320, there is only one update, and that is about the headliner Alex Pereira, who posted some videos on his Instagram account where we can see him on the set of his movie Onslaught. He is taking on the role of the villain in the upcoming A24 action thriller film. Then the next card is UFC Rio, headlined by Oliveira versus Fiziev, and there is a bout added where two UFC veterans will collide. Vicente Luque will be taking on Santiago Ponzinibbio. Luque is 1-2 in his last 3 fights, coming off a loss to Kevin Holland, while Ponzinibbio is 1-3 in his last 4, coming off a loss to Daniel Rodriguez. And that was all the fights that were announced in the UFC. From the fights that are yet to be announced is the lightweight title fight, where no one knows who is Ilia Topuria fighting next. Anyway, Arman Sarugian continues to send shots at Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria both. He tells Pimblett to sit and wait, while he mocks Ilia Topuria again, saying a puppy is better than the lightweight champion. Then, when our heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall was asked about against a potential fight against Jon Jones at UFC White House card, Aspinall says that he is not interested in a fight against Jones, and the world should also not be interested either, because what's the point? Just false hope. Then Paulo Costa was asked about if he is open to fight Israel Adesanya, who had called him out, and Costa replied that yes, he is open for a rematch against Adesanya in the future. Then if we talk about non-UFC fight announcement, Shamil Musayev will defend his PFL welterweight title against former Bellator welterweight champion Ramazan Kuramagomedov in a unification bout. And then some big boxing fights. First of all, the undercard of Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford is announced. The co-main event is interim WBC super middleweight title fight, where 29-0 Christian Mbili will be taking on WBC number 7 and WBA number 3 ranked 19-0 Lester Martinez. Then Dana White's guy, 14-0 super welterweight Callum Walsh, will also be taking one of the biggest fights of his career against 17-0 undefeated Fernando Vargas Jr. Then a heavyweight fight which has been announced by Ring Magazine for the fight week of Alvarez versus Crawford between Jarrell Miller and Michael Hunter is now in jeopardy. Boxing promoter Don King, who has a legal and binding contract with number 2 heavyweight contender Michael Hunter, has issued a cease and desist order to Sella and TKO Group Holdings. King had won the rights to promote the WBA heavyweight championship fight between his fighter Hunter and WBA regular heavyweight champion Kobrat Pulayev in a pursuit. Then Matchroom Boxing announced their Philadelphia card on October 11th, which will be headlined by Philadelphia's own WBA number 2 ranked super welterweight Jaron Ennis making his super welterweight debut against their number 10 ranked Uisma Lima in WBA super welterweight title eliminator. Current WBA super welterweight champion is Terence Crawford, but he will probably vacate his belt, and then WBA interim champion Joines Tellez will get promoted to the full WBA super welterweight champion. Anyway, the fighter whom Ennis beat in his last fight, WBA number 2 ranked welterweight former champion Imantas Stanionis, is also set to make his return in his own country, Lithuania, against a no one in Jabulani Makhachev, as it is just a showcase fight. Then Matchroom announced another card in Orlando November 1, and this will be headlined by Jordan Thompson's heavyweight debut. Thompson, who is coming off his loss to Jai Opetaya for the cruiserweight title in 2023, is now making his heavyweight debut against current WBA number 3 ranked 12-0 Lanier Perro. 2024 Olympic finalist 3-0 Omari Jones will also be showcasing his skills on the undercard. Then Golden Boy announced their September 20th card in Indio, California, and this will be headlined by 2 title fights. WBA and WBO strawweight champion 12-0 Oscar Collazo will be making the second defense of his unified belts against an unranked opponent in Jason Bason, who is riding a 4-fight win streak after losing his O in 2023. as Collazo do not have any interim champion or the mandatory defense. This is his voluntary defense against an unranked guy. Anyway, in the co-headliner, undisputed women flyweight champion Gabriela Fondora will be taking on WBA number 2 ranked former title challenger Aileen Grandino, who is currently riding a 2-fight win streak. Anyway, the IBF Super Flyweight title eliminator scheduled for this Saturday between Argy Cortez and Andrew Moloney has fallen apart at the last minute as Moloney refused to accept a change in venue from Durango to Mexico City. Cortez will now face someone named Byron Rodriguez in a showcase bout as Rodriguez is currently riding a losing streak. Then lastly, the domestic violence charge against WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis relating to an incident on Father's Day has been dropped. Florida prosecutors have declined to file formal charges against Davis in battery case. This means the last hurdle between Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Rose Jr. 2 is now over, and now Davis can take this fight anytime he wants. And that's all in this video. Now again, you are completely up to date with the fight world. If you want to stay updated, stay subscribed, keep watching my video, keep your support, give your feedback in the comment section, and then do whatever you want.